Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Alex or ASMR, and today we are going to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, which is clothing and what it means to be freaking awkward. Very awkward. Because, it's okay. It's okay. And, oh my god. I want to talk about not liking clothes, feeling good, being aligned with thine inner self, and maybe touch on the concepts of authenticity as it relates to awkwardness and etc. Now, in this video, I will be showing you some of my outfits that I like to wear. Some regular outfits and some special type things, but mostly my daily outfits, because it has taken me a long time to feel comfortable in what I wear. A lot of this has to do with gender and presentation, which I will also talk about. Helping me today is my favorite hoodie. It's my only hoodie. This is some merchandise that I got from the concert that I went to, the Cure concert in Los Angeles before I moved here. So the front, it just has the Cure in this kind of melty metal font, and then in the back is their promotional image, their poster for the Los Angeles concert. You can see it's a bunch of trees, but it's Robert Smith, and there's a woman floating up in the middle. The Cure put out a promotional poster for every city that they went to, so all the LA merch was this kind of blue, and I think it's really nice. And it's my hoodie. This is it, and I wear it on this channel. I've worn it on this channel. So I'm just gonna be kind of holding this hoodie, kind of gently touching it throughout the video. So with that being said, I have a cup of coffee, and let's talk about clothing and awkwardness. If you have watched this channel or just have ever looked, you will notice that when I started filming videos, I look different since then. My hair is longer. Sometimes I wear a little eye makeup. That's about it. But I've always worn black t-shirts. I have glasses, and I like books. Why this is important is because in our culture, Western culture, American culture, I believe British, just the common concept that we use this vocabulary, pretty much we think that your clothes are a manifestation of what is inside you, and there's a duality between who you are on the inside and what you wear. But we know that clothing is aspirational. So nowadays, especially with TikTok and YouTube and social media, you can approach clothing from an outward in approach. So instead of starting with kind of who am I and what am I naturally drawn to, what am I kind of naturally choosing, you can look at an image, find it somewhat aspirational, maybe because the image makes you feel like that's who I am, or that's a version of myself that I'm seemingly impotent at expressing. So I find that aspirational, and you can acquire those items and put them into you, because we are also social animals. We, at lightning neurological speed, are looking at images, and we're looking at all these videos of people buying a particular handbag or wearing a particular style, and we quickly come to understand the social capital, the value of that look in those items, and we rub our little hands together and we make it happen. We wear the Birkenstocks and we get the bag, and etc., etc. From what I see around me, very few of us are immune, because don't just think that it's the trendy people doing this. No. I just made a video about the navy suit men who work in the city of London. We've been doing this. One of the best videos I've watched on authenticity is by Heaven Sent Honey. There's only one point in it that I disagree with, and I've heard this a lot, that more than ever we live in an age of conformity, where we're giving into trends of clothing and trends of fashion. I completely disagree. Conformity, talk about conformity. Look at the 1950s. Keep going. Look at the 60s, when things start to break down and you get the wild west of 70s fashion, very skin-tight clothing, wild and bohemian and free. Go into the kind of fun consumerist 80s and into the hip-hop 90s. Prior to this, I would say 1950s and on, look at any photograph of any city. What are you going to see? Absolute conformity. Very little variation in the way that women were allowed to dress, men were allowed to dress. Everything in accordance with your class, with your status. Are you married? Are you unmarried? Do you work? What kind of work do you do? It gives everything away, and deviation is not the norm. Don't really have the resources or the markets for variation. We don't have the culture at that time. So their cognition is not set up for that. The market's not set up for that. Nothing is set up for that, and you don't see it. Now, we don't live in an age where conformity rules the day. We've always loved a collective look, but you don't have it as much anymore. You have micro trends. And you get genres of people. And if anything, there's quite the floundering in the never-ending options, the circus carousel of options of how you could look and who you could be. There are clothes that express your music tastes. There are clothes that express your philosophical commitments, your aesthetic commitments. There are clothes that show your financial status. Pick something to demonstrate, and you can demonstrate it. Now, where does that leave us sometimes? That has left me completely lost. I'm gonna be honest, completely freaking lost. Partially because when I got to a certain age, many things interpersonally in me just went absolutely haywire and didn't match the culture I was in. To help me illustrate my next point, let's take a look at an outfit that I wear today, all the time. Now, this outfit consists of my favorite pair of straight leg jeans. They are sufficiently kind of large enough to hide the top part of my boot, so they're great for boots. I wear them with these green moto boots. I've got my brown belts. Typically I will wear my t-shirts, some black t-shirts. Now this look relies on the moto boots. These are moto boots, and they're not cowboy boots, but yet the whole thing has a southern silhouette. I am incredibly comfortable in this outfit right now. One of the reasons why I think I am is because I am from Texas. So I grew up where you wore these kinds of jeans over boots, and many of the men did. It doesn't have to be cowboy boots a lot of the time, as many of you probably are in the US have been exposed to, worn over work boots, different kinds of work boots, sometimes not cowboy work boots. Either way, it's just a common silhouette is the boot, the jean, the belt, and the shirts. I also saw this growing up in the Mexican community that my grandmother lived in San Antonio. For those of you who do not know, I am half Mexican American. And in the 2000s, it was like women would wear, you could wear this with like chunky belts and like a blouse. And it's just a southern look. I'm sure it's in other states besides Texas. But I could never wear this. And I didn't wear this when I was in Texas and I was younger, because for many reasons, one of which was kind of the prominence of Old Navy and Kohl's, Bell's, these stores that sold to girls like little t-shirts, like a t-shirt with a sea turtle on it. You know, you could get puka shell necklace, little frayed jean shorts. And I used to just wear like stuff from Old Navy or stuff that looked like it. And that suited me because it was less form-fitting. And I gravitated as I got older to hiding my body instead of showing it off. Now, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that because it's classic, isn't it? I didn't have what people might have now, which is the ability to see multiple ways of dressing. If you are queer, and specifically if you are a girl but you're more masculine. So I was always a tomboy playing sports, and that helped me gravitate toward these looks that I was wearing. And eventually my added self-consciousness from just coming into my body, right, like going through adolescence, I ended up exaggerating those silhouettes. So the shorts became basketball shorts, the basketball shorts became kind of longer, the like Old Navy tees turned into just sports tees, and the sports tees got larger, and I pretty much just wore a lot of large clothing that covered me up. Okay, so that was what I experienced, and that led to me feeling incredibly awkward. Incredibly awkward. Now, I'm going to show you another outfit that I wear pretty much all the time. Instead of the boots, it's my red sneakers, and I wear my belt, and I wear a different black t-shirt. I have a million black t-shirts. I really like this look. the difference, I think, between this very simple outfit, black t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers, and the outfits I wore when I was younger, which is just large t-shirts, jeans, and sneakers, is very subtle changes to the silhouette, but a large difference. There's been a change in alignment, inner alignment, and an inner sense of self that prevents choices that are made from misalignment and hiding the self, hiding away. So my clothes now express me versus before they hid me. And that's really all the difference, because when I think about it, for the most part, that kind of small town pre-social media upbringing has really stuck with me, and it lives in me and expresses itself in me. I want to talk about something that's been added. So to do that, we have to look at another outfit. Now, this outfit is a little bit different. It is my favorite pair of slacks. They're kind of this gray with stripes, very subtle stripes. And I wear these with all kinds of things, but boots, really. And I will wear some kind of t-shirt or button-up, usually with some kind of flowy button-up. And this becomes my look. I arrived at this place where I feel very comfortable wearing this kind of slacks and boots and button-ups because I left Texas and I moved and lived outside of Los Angeles in California. Whoa. This is where we get step number one. Was I kind of took my childhood tomboyish and I hid myself with self-conscious choices. And then having, I'm leaving home, going on this adventure, I began to make choices that were aspirational. Now, I had started to do this in Texas with phases. I went through a weird phase where I only wanted to wear like New Balances, and I wore a lot of gray, kind of trying to be like a clean cut, but kind of masculine, and I was just grasping at trying to be something different than me, something transformative, something organized and less awkward. But I went through a super dry phase. Oh god, y'all. I don't have anything against super dry as a concept, but it was so awkward on me. It was so weird, and I was just, I don't know, it was weird. When I got to California, I went to art school. That exploded by a million. And if you're familiar with art school, you know that the choices that people make, oh my god, the choices that queer people make, oh my god. So I had been wrestling with masculinity. I'm a little bit gothic as a person. I was just trying on things like identities that didn't fit. And when you try on an identity that doesn't fit, it will be awkward, and you probably will look awkward. It's something esoteric. It's something beyond the rational. It's something beyond the measurements of clothes, neck to hem, arm to arm. The esoteric awkwardness of identity transcends silhouette and measurement, and advice directed to the awkward in the direction of, does it fit you well, blah blah blah, sometimes will not work and is irrelevant when the awkwardness comes from trying on a completely new identity. identity, the measurements of the identity, cannot be measured by any ruler, but you know when it fits poorly because it will be unsustainable and you will experience collapse. And you will experience, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. It's like hanging out with the wrong people. Eventually it won't be sustainable. So a lot of my awkwardness during my early adult years came from striving to attain a look that had nothing to do with me, but that was aspirational. This is where I really started to have a crisis of gender, and I had realized that I had not allowed myself to be feminine ever, because I had felt a deep, deep shame about things within myself. I didn't realize this till much later in life, but that because I didn't feel pretty, and because in some ways in my town, in that life, I was kind of shamed. It's like kind of embarrassing to be a tomboy at a certain age and to be seen as awkward. So because I was seen as awkward and felt the shame of other people's embarrassments of me not being very feminine, in a strange reaction, I believed that I just wasn't feminine, and I just really withdrew, and I leaned heavily on my masculinity, which is an important part of me, but I leaned on it as my identity, that this is what I need to be. And because I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, I felt that it was easier to settle into that instead of reflecting on how I actually feel and what's going on within me. So I made a lot of choices where I would cut my hair really, really short, and I presented very masculine, but I was never happy. I was very uncomfortable. Sometimes I had a great haircut. There was one short haircut I was just in love with, but then my hair grew out and it was just so awkward to maintain. But something wasn't working, and it was actually in college that I realized that, well, I haven't really explored this. I've been kind of reacting emotionally and making choices from an emotional place. So I really started to question this, and I started to experiment with different pieces of clothing that fit my body differently. It was a very awkward time. But eventually, I settled into where I am now, which is I am more masculine. And when I have allowed myself everything, I have realized that I will only go so far. So I enjoy the few handbags that I have. I will not wear heels. I do not wear dresses. I do not wear skirts. I will wear women's tops, but only if it's like a little black t-shirt, or if it's a button-up. I will not wear low-cut and low neckline blouses. I will not wear anything that is very curvy and accentuates the waist. I won't do it. I don't like it at all. And I feel very comfortable not liking that, not doing that. I don't wear lipstick. I don't really even wear too much jewelry, like piercings. And that's how it is. That's how it is. I don't know what label I would be. I don't care. But it is more like these choices have come from experimentation. And then I've been able to not need to get something outside of me. The resulting looks that I wear every day, I would have to say, finally represent probably who I am in some capacity. They tend to be more tomboyish. They tend to be quite gothic. I like the dark colors. I like black. They represent my music tastes. I do think they represent my taste in literature. They have a Texas flavor to them. I really believe so. Everything kind of feels pretty effortless and aligned in my fashion. When I go out sometimes in London, I don't really match anyone. But when I go home to Texas, I don't match anyone. When I'm in California, I don't totally match anyone. But it's not wacky different. It's just quite singular. It is what it is. And I think that's good. It makes sense. Because there are parts of it that fit in everywhere, and then there are parts that don't, because it is a manifestation of everywhere I've lived. The Los Angeles has stuck around in some of my choices. The Los Angeles has stuck around in some of the blouses, the slacks, this kind of more out on the town kind of look. Texas has survived deeply. The tomboy playing sports as a kid has all survived deeply in my t-shirts. I love black t-shirts. Oh, yes. And I like that, a certain type of cut. It's all survived, you know what I mean? I have my band hoodie. Things have all survived. I'm also more romantically inclined. I like to read that kind of cozy literature, toy-loving, cozy person that manifests. So because it all manifests in these items that I wear as outfits, it ends up like it's not a direct replication of any one place or the style at any one time. It's an amalgamation, which leads to me, which is a concept that never came very easily. And I think as a result, I wear thrifted clothing that might not fit the best way, but I would not call it awkward. And I would not say I look awkward, and I don't feel awkward. As before, I felt awkward. And when things didn't fit me correctly, I felt that they didn't fit me correctly, because what I was feeling was an esoteric fissure in identity. And that's what did not really fit me well, is all the different identities I've tried on over the years. Jeez. In order to just feel comfortable with my own. So it's been quite the journey. I've talked about this both across Patreon and here in various videos, but it all accumulates to the idea that my outfits now, because they authentically represent certain facets of me and certain moods and places I've ever lived and been, when I use clothing as a structure for the day, it's very effective. And I use clothing like anything else to change my mood, to put me in a mindset, or to affirm a mindset. So I will change an outfit between working at my desk, or going downstairs and doing creative writing. Even just at home, I will sometimes change my outfit, my clothing, just to kind of affirm for myself a certain way of being. And in this way, trying on things from the outside in, using the outside to change the inside, ends up staying more in my internal cosmos. Okay, my cosmos. Instead of drawing from the outside someone else's cosmos to change me in my fundamental identity, I don't do that. Having a wardrobe that kind of represents me, and having my own little universe, I draw on pieces of my own universe to then change my internal mood. So I'll put on an accessory that I really like. I have my bracelet too. So I'll put on an accessory that I like. And it will help change me. It will help change my mood. One of the things I quite resonate with in the video I mentioned by Heaven Sent Honey, in her video, she has this method that's what makes the video unique for how to find your aesthetic. And it sounds like she is suggesting you go through a very willful process. But what I like is that her process pretty much is a condensed version of what happened to me over years and years and years and years, where she's pretty much just saying, just intuitively get in touch with what you like and just post it on Instagram until after a while you look, and then that's your aesthetic. Because it's the choices that you make with no audience, with no consideration of should you like something, just do you. And that has been something that I've had to do, where it involved a suspension of shame and certain narratives that probably came from shame, where I thought, oh, I have to be this, and getting just caught up in making choices from an external place as opposed to just intuitive vibing. Using your intuition, using your receptivity, your preceptivity to pay attention to when you gravitate, and slowly on that journey relax concepts into something that manifests by itself and becomes then unique to you. So she's offering a kind of condensed way to arrive at that destination, but I think it's a very interesting project because that is pretty much how I arrived at my destination. It just took a lot of locating what to suspend, and it took me a long time to catch that I had inherited stories about myself that weren't true. Now I am out in the Wild West, I'm off-roading, doing my own thing, and I think I look like I read Harry Potter. I look like I like autumn and the fall. I look like I would make ASMR videos for YouTube. I look like I might have come from a small town, and socioeconomically, I am not your 1%. I'm not your highest top tier, stratosphere, rich person. But I'm comfortable, and I'm very confident, and I feel good, and I feel aligned. So, that is a little bit about clothing and awkwardness. It is quite the journey. I'm by no means done, but it does feel good to land at a place where choices don't feel insecure, they feel secure, which is good. But it's been quite the journey, and it's involved a lot of reckoning with gender, a lot of allowing myself to be feminine and seeing where my boundaries are. And I've arrived at them. I've hit them, and I say, that's enough for me. And I get to just be me and set aside the shame of masculinity, but also the pressure to be more masculine than I am, and to set aside the shame of not being very feminine, because I'm not. And it feels quite good to find wherever I am on the 4D, 5D, infinitely dimensional spectrum of possibilities. I'm here right now, and that feels really good. And I let go of conception, and I allow myself to be wherever I really need to be. Yes. I need to remember to link Heaven Sent Honey's video. It's quite interesting. I really enjoy it. I'm not going to do that, her exercise, but it is quite intriguing to think about using Instagram as a way to learn about your own self instead of perform your own self, to express yourself and learn about yourself, which is something that I've talked about on this channel before, which is an ongoing effort to listen instead of construct an identity. Listen to who you are, what's coming out. I think that road leads to us looking like as unique as we are and as interesting as we are. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think individual style is wonderful. I do think a lot of people, when I think about the people I know and what they wear, I love it. It's like an anime. You know, in anime, everyone's looking very, unique. I think when I go out and I really pay attention to people, there's so many characters, and God knows what went into people making the choices that they made. So many unseen memories, so many relationships, so many self-conceptions, so many retail choices. People wear whatever the market offers them, can offer them, whatever money can afford. It's fascinating. The matrix of variables that go into fashion and dress. But I think it's important to, if in an effort to avoid awkwardness, to approach some kind of internal alignment from a place of being receptive and listening to the self, what you like. Okay, everybody, that is it for this video in particular. I hope that you found it interesting. It's a peek behind the curtain into my fashion and choices, and I hope that it's just quite relaxing and interesting topic. Maybe you could put it in the background. Also, thank you to new subscribers. I have some new subscribers. If you're listening, hello. If you're a returning subscriber and you are listening, hello. I hope that no matter where you are, day or night, that you are able to find some peace and some relaxation, and that the world of fashion doesn't give you too many troubles. Yeah, I will see you very soon in the next